my name's Graham Colborne, and I've been very lucky to have worked in project management for over 20 years now and had some great opportunities along the way. But today I'm very privileged to have two of the top 16 PMO practitioners with me to talk about what they've been doing in the project management space. So I have Saliha Ismail and Efi Polydora with me, and perhaps Saliha, you'd like to introduce yourself now.
Thank you, Graham. Hi, my name is Saliha Ismail from Ministry of Works, Municipality Affairs and Urban Planning in Bahrain. And I'm one of the heads of the strategic projects in the PMO under the Minister's Office.
So how did you get into project management?
I was a consultant for a long time in project management, doing projects until 2009, when I was offered to work in the project management office in Bahrain. So that's how I landed in the PMO. But I was a project management consultant for a long time, about 15 years or so before that.
Yep, okay. And Efi?
Yes, hi, my name is Efi Polydora. I come originally from the sunny Greece, but I live and work in the beautiful Netherlands the last 10 years. On personal level, I'm mother of two lovely sons, 3 and 5 years old. So this is a big challenge in combination with work. On academic level, I have a technical background. I have studied electronic engineering, but soon after I started working my career, I realized that project management is the area that makes me happy. So I stepped into project management somewhere in 2004. And since then, I work as project manager, program manager, and lately as a portfolio manager. The last couple of years, I'm heading the project management office within the Dutch Lottery. And with a group of 8 professional project and program managers, we are running the strategic initiatives of the company. So okay. This is a bit about me.
So what attracted you, either of you now, what attracted you into project management in the first place? What?
For me, it is sort of a natural progression, I would say. My background is in architecture, doing, designing. And, so naturally, when you go into design and later on you go into the project management space. So from that transition, and then I landed on a job in a project management consulting company, purely project management, managing the design consultant and the contractors. So it's sort of a natural progression, basically. And then you continue doing projects and projects and projects and projects. So that's how I progress. In my basically in my career, and when you do design, so this is design engineering. It's sort of a natural transition, I would say.
Yeah,
that's how I started until I landed into the PMO, which is totally into the management space, basically.
For me, Graham, it was mainly the diversity. I realized that project management will never get me bored because I had to do with people, so people management, stakeholders management, but also from finance to procurement to HR, from creating reports to reading and reviewing design flows. So I really enjoy enjoyed this diversity, and I realized every time, and I still realize that every project and program is unique. And this is what I really find fascinating in this world. And project management evolves. There are new trends, obviously, and this keeps me busy, and this keeps me happy, and this evolves me. And this is very interesting and very important for me.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the people skills. Gartner did a study, it's a few years ago now, and it estimated that 76% of a project manager's time is spent in communication and dealing with people. Do you think that's a point that's often missed by project managers, the ones that sort of just want to follow a process and, you know, don't really communicate that well?
Yes. Well, I think you have to spend more time in communication, not just 70%, because the whole thing is just project management is all about communication. You know, because you have the different stakeholders, you have product to deliver, and it's all about communication, really, but different form of communication. But still, yes, they are communication.
Mm. So can you tell me about your PMOs and how they're linked into the organisation and what they actually do?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Efi.
No, Saliha, go on.
Okay, thank you. Our PMO, basically, because we are a government organization, maybe we work slightly different than private. What we have is, as I said, we have a PMO as a governance office under the minister's office, and then we have sort of an extension of what we call a project management section. Those are the people actually working directly in project and working on the ground. So they are basically our extension. Now, government organizations usually work in sort of functional mode. So there are certain boundaries that we have to, be in that space. So how we work is we work uniquely with our extension, basically. So that's how we work. So in our office, which is what we call a governance office or the PMO, we have only 4 people, actually, very small number of people, but each person has got different skills, a different skill set. Like, for example, I'm in project governance and coaching. We have another person actually specifically into tool of the PMIS and business processes, and then the other person actually skills in training and coaching, and then another person on the administrative part. So we have specific skill, and when we have these skills, this is where we work with our extension and how we help to resolve the project on the ground, because we don't do projects. We're just a governance office. So we have a projects department actually doing the project. So how we work is sort of slightly different way than perhaps private would do.
And do you get involved with projects from conception, or do the projects get handed to you and you have to deliver them, or not deliver them but govern them? Or
what we do is we yes, when project managers start at the project, they usually we usually come work with them on to create a project, and sometimes we work with their external clients, getting to conceptualize the scope of the project and what was the objective of the project. And then we help throughout doing reviewing the contract documents, getting involved in the project, where we become the sort of advisor to the project governance, and we help with the consultant and the contractors. We get involved in along the step of the project life cycle until towards the end, where you have the operation actually coming in and taking over the assets. So the way we work is that we support our project management section on different work. Let's say like this. But we don't work on the ground. We look into the management part of the project.
Okay. And Efi, what does yours look like?
Yeah. Our project management office is slightly different from the one that Saliha described. So we are responsible from the conceptual, so from idea to a project, and responsible for the whole journey. So we are also executing projects and we lead projects towards implementation. So my PMO consists of 8 people, including myself. I have a PMO coordinator, and her main role is to facilitate everybody, and she does mainly the administrative work with reporting and our internal PMO tool. And the rest are professional project managers that based on the assignment they get, they can act as program managers as well. It depends on the complexity of the initiative. How we work within the organization, we are positioned under the director of the business transformation and strategic projects, who himself is part of the board of directors. So we have direct lines with the board of directors, something that give us enough freedom and mandate at the same time. And how we work within and we collaborate with the rest of the organization all starts from strategy. So we have a manager, strategy manager. He defines with key stakeholders and a board of directors and shareholders the strategy of the company, because we are also somehow part of the governance. We are part of Ministry of Finance. When strategy is defined and they identify new initiatives that can lead potentially to projects or programs, they come to us, and we have set up a specific process that we need to follow, how we start from an idea to a project. And that includes the initiative phase. If we need to do an RFP for a supplier, for example, we cooperate with procurement, who takes the lead there. A business case is obviously something that needs to be set up, and then we cooperate with business control department. And we also are responsible for setting up the initial governance and assign a project manager. So that comes from PMO. And from the moment of the assignment, then the project manager is responsible to lead the project, so set up the team from internal, external resources, responsible about setting up and getting approval on budget, but the monitoring, controlling of the whole project cycles remains by PMO, because our PMO has also the responsibility on portfolio level. So it's my responsibility as head of PMO to keep track on all projects run at the same time and see what is the influence on the whole portfolio per project change.
Okay. So let me throw an idea out now and just chip in as you feel you want to. Is the term PMO just far too broad now? We have project management offices, we have program management offices, which tend to be admin offices to my point of view. We have portfolio management offices. The interpretation of what portfolio means can be just delivery, or it can be the selection of projects. Is PMO, does it really mean anything anymore?
That's a very good question, I think, actually, and I really think it really needs to follow a fit for purpose model. So each organization has a maturity level, has specific frameworks that need to follow, also legacies, but also a specific company culture. And based on all those aspects, the PMO takes a position, and I think it's also on a PMO to grab the opportunity within an organization and shine and show what it can be done and how it can help. So for me, it's really PMO can do everything now, can evolve. It's a bit how it goes also with the new agile trend. We say we need T-shaped people that can do more and see broader than their own expertise. This is how a bit I see PMO, if I'm allowed to say, a bit T-shaped PMOs that can do even more things and look broader than only specific areas.
Yeah.
In my view, I think PMO is, I would not say it can be as broad as you like, but then you have the organization that governs you of how your PMO would be. Because maybe in private you have the flexibility to define what your PMO is, and I believe each PMO is unique. They are all defined by the organization itself. So if the organization says that you're going to be just a support office, and that's what you are, but you need to sort of define that value. What does that support means to the organization? If you are a program management office, for example, what does it mean to the organization? Because I think you have to sort of find a balance. That's why each PMO is unique. You cannot copy from one PMO to another, despite the fact that we can say it is either broad or narrow. People, yes, to one extent, people like to use the word PMO just so it suits them, but I think it has to suit the organization that you're working in. For us, we don't manage the portfolio. The portfolio is managed by the assistant and the secretaries. They have their own domain. They manage their own portfolios. They do the prioritizing themselves. We help them to do those things, but we support them to do those things, but we don't prioritize because the budget are given to them, not to us. What we do as a PMO, I think it is important for PMO to show some form of value in terms of giving that support to the management, and more importantly, giving them visibility so that they can make the informed decisions. Because for us, our organization is big, so there's a lot of things going on the ground, and people tend to lose touch in these things. So we have a PMO that will sort of put together all of these things and give that visibility and escalate and advise how what that informed decision. So again, as I said, it depends on what that organization wants you to be.
So I totally get that, the PMO has to fit the organization. I think the point I was trying to make was, if you say you're a project manager, that's a pretty well-defined thing. People understand what it is. You get given something to do and you deliver it. If you say you're a PMO manager, it can be any of these things, can't it?
Yes.
It's such a broadly used term now. That you might be, just doing governance. You might be, just doing reporting. You might just be a resource. I've seen PMOs that are simply a pool of project managers. and they have a way of working, and you need a project manager, you get one from the pool.
Yes,
but following on nicely from your point, how do we measure the value of PMOs?
Yeah, actually, for me, is simple. Is the value created for the customer, and the customer of our PMO are our internal stakeholders. So, and this value, also differs per stakeholder. So, for one stakeholder, this value can be, I need a template for a dashboard, and then they come to us and they find this dashboard. For the other one, can be, I need clear prioritization on which project will be pick up first based on some criteria, and for the other one is the successful completion of a project based on scope, time, quality. So it's really how it adds value to the different stakeholders levels, and how this value is made clear and obvious to people. So this is all about it. This is how you can measure, I think, the value of PMO and the success of PMO, by just asking people what you get from PMO.
So do you have KPIs based around that?
Yes, we have KPIs, but obviously, with KPIs, they stay KPIs if you don't give them, if you don't materialize them. So although I like this fancy dashboard with KPIs on scope, quality, and I really appreciate them because they give a nice trend. I'm very people oriented, and yes, now with COVID-19, this has been a bit challenging because I cannot walk around anymore and have a very direct collaboration with people and stakeholders. But this is what I used to do before. I was having very short, unofficial discussions with key stakeholders. How you perceive? Did you get from PMO what you are supposed to get? And if don't, where you see the enhancements? What can be done better or even different? So this inspect and adapt feature is something that I try to evolve more and more, and get it as a mindset also to my PMO colleagues.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I tend to agree with some that if you want to show value to the PMO, for us, we how we work is we divide, because all our I would say customers and stakeholders are internal. So we tend to work, how we work is there are other support units which we call our stakeholders, such as finance, IT, HR, cost, engineering. So these are the support units that are actually what we call stakeholders to deliver the same objective. And then we have the customers, which is the project managers, the users, the directors who are using the project management methodologies. So what we do is we work with both stakeholders, such as finance, for example, and we provide, I would say, the value in terms of visibility to the management is by working with our stakeholders. For example, working with project managers and help them to sort of do reporting, solving communication issues between projects and operations, for example, communication issues between the design team and the construction teams. Remember, we are functional, so they all work in silos, so they don't connect when they work with each other. So solving these problems to make that project smooth, I would say, give the various stakeholders value, so that they know when they have these problems, they will come to us to help them solve these problems. So we have to work in different levels, how we provide value to the management, to the different stakeholders, and to our customers. So that's how we, I would say, how we work to to provide value to different type of stakeholders in the organization.
Okay. And do you think the value is recognized by the sort of senior management of your organizations?
For us, yes. It does take us quite some time to be able to recognize the value that we provide. When we actually are given the certain policy that we can implement, so that actually shows that we are appreciated, because they know when there's a problem on the ground, they can say, oh, PMO, can you help us to solve this problem on the ground? So when you have that kind of appreciation, then you see the value that you are contributing to the organization.
Okay.
I think for us is also a bit the same. So they appreciate based on practical examples. So show me, and every time they see something, then they are persuaded. And for us is this is hopefully a bit simpler, because we are also implementing the projects, so they see the progress via the execution. They see the progress via the execution of the projects. But it's always a challenging journey to get them along. Yeah. And because project management is not easy from non-project managers to understand, and it has also complex terminology. So that was even one of our lessons learned when we started, because we are a recent setup PMO, like 2 years ago. If you start with outlining complex processes, terminology, methodologies, they are really getting confused and worried that if they don't understand, the rest of the organization will also not understand. So there is a balance that should be found there. Make it simple and make it adherable for the average colleague, and not only for the project managers that can understand the legals and the complexity behind.
Yeah, just a personal observation, but in the past, I've run PMOs that have been measured by projects delivered on time and on budget. Mm-hmm. And you get to the point where the projects are getting delivered on time and on budget, or most of them. And then people say, yeah, but is that the PMO? Or is that just that the project managers have now learned to do things better? I mean, do we still need the PMO? Would they just do that anyway? And so I think you're both on the money here by saying it's got to be about relationships. It's got to be about fostering good practice and showing the value in other ways. It isn't just delivering the projects.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. So I think it's more than just on time, within budget.
Yeah.
And it's also, I see PMO as the glue between a lot of disciplines. It's not only a project manager. Of course, a project manager, and it's on the project manager to deliver something, but it's not one person that delivers, it's a team that delivers, and this team needs to collaborate with the rest of the organization. So I see PMO as really the glue, the passepartout tool that goes around and brings all these disciplines together in a logical order, but also in a hierarchical order, in a sense of prioritizing what it first needs to happen, because it adds more value than the other. So this is how I see it.
Yeah.
In my particular case, I was working contract, and when the contract finished, they said, yeah, we've got to where we need to be now. Off you go. And within 6 months, somebody contacted me and said it's all fallen apart because there was nobody to lead it anymore.
Yes.
So,
Yes, that's true. That's why for us, and Efi is right. Yeah, we are sort of a glue, because when we talk about project delivery, when the project is delivered, and then we have the other part of the organization, which is the operation and maintenance. they are the one being probably the asset owners. So so what happens in between, you know? So this is where PMO, I think, play a role, because for us, one of the biggest issue previously is that when project finish at 90%, as you say, it stays at 90%, and it doesn't go to the operations. And operations, they sometimes, you know, they refuse to accept the product, because simply they said, you know, we are not aware that you are doing this project, and suddenly there you go, this is a project, and you know, so or the project does not meet their requirements when they want to do operations. So this is where we come in to sort of help binding each other and work together, and get the operations to be part of the project team, making sure that they will take the product when the project's finished. So that's where PMO comes in to sort of help to connect, you know, between projects and operations.
Okay. Do your PMOs have PMO charters? Is it clearly defined what's expected of them?
Yes, we did a charter for PMO way back in 2012, actually. How we define ourselves, what we can do after, you know, because we started previously from 2009, after handed over by the consultant, and we spent a lot of time trying to position ourselves. Where would we be in the organization? What would we do? You know, so we spend a lot of time collecting data, and then from the data you analyze, and then you sort of make the charter and a roadmap of what that PMO would be. And between that, you put a target, and then milestones of how you're going to achieve those things. So yes, a charter is very, very important.
Okay.
Yeah, for us it's also the same. When we started like 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, we set up one that I can assure you it's not valid anymore, because we evolve and the company evolves. As I think I mentioned, last year we started a transformation project towards agile way of working, and that has certainly an influence on PMO. So yes, charter is there, but we need to keep it up to date, following the trend of the organization and the changes. Otherwise, it can be obsolete, and this is something that can get PMO out of the picture. This is a risk I see. But it's certainly a valid point to be there.
Yes.
Why do you think that there's a bit of a sort of reputation that PMOs often fail? Do you think that's because PMOs don't get it, they don't understand the business, or do you think it's the business don't understand what they actually want from the PMO?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
You know, not just the PMO don't understand what the organization wants, and the organization might see just another resource. I mean, I've seen, and I have friends working in PMO where they collapse after a few years because they just couldn't fit themselves where they would be in the organization, especially when that organization is functional. And you know, if you're not doing projects, so what are you doing? Do you know what I mean? So this is the question that's often being asked. That's why we as a PMO, we have to, every day, when the question of value, every day you have to discuss about the question of value, how you can provide value, what else can you do to support, you know. So this is a constant question that we have to ask ourselves. Do we understand the business enough for us to help and support them? What else can we do to innovate our work and our practice? You know, because you have project managers who have years and years of experience, and probably the same time as you are. So they said, okay, I'm a project manager, you're a project manager, so what else do you know that you can teach me? So this is the quick question that you, as a PMO, you have to constantly be asking that question, so that
you keep them honest. That's the main thing.
Exactly. I fully agree with Saliha, is creating the need to the rest of the organization to be there for existence. A very good example, I think, is lessons learned that are captured and maintained by PMO always, and reused to the next time of beginning a new project, for example. So it's following the trend, and PMO, what I always say is PMO can never work in silos. It's not a department that can have its own plan and disregarding the rest of the organization, closing ears to what is being, to what happens. No, on the contrary, PMO is an executing, following the trend organ, is a consulting organ, is an organ about lessons learned, is really a multi-functional team, I would say, following the trends of the company, and it's a team that always needs to evolve in order to validate the reasoning of its existence.
Yes,
a bit hard said, but this is a reality, I think.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's true. That's true. Otherwise, you're losing out, because half the time, I think the results of the PMO is intangible. You know, rather than tangible results. So intangible is far more difficult to prove.
Okay, let's move on to a different subject now. I'd like to talk about Agile. Now, do you have Agile in your PMOs at the moment?
We do. As I said previous year, organization started transforming all business units to a more agile way of working. So we introduced multidisciplinary teams, and that affected obviously PMO. For example, PMO now is responsible organizing every quarter our quarterly business refinement session, where all stakeholders from the organization come together. They bring their epics, and epics are big initiatives that need to be realized within the quarter, and we discuss there the resources needed, the allocation, but also the prioritization, and we create a global planning that we execute in the 3 months of the specific quarter. So this is an effect that this agile way of working had on our PMO, but also within the projects, because as I said, we execute also projects. We try now to work in a hybrid modus. So from waterfall projects, we haven't gone yet to fully agile projects, and I'm not sure if we will ever get there, because we are not delivering only software. So it's more complicated for us, but we are having now, as we say, a hybrid situation where we take the good things from waterfall methodology, the good things from agile methodology, also the roles from those two roles as well. So we have product owners working very closely with our project managers. We have DevOps, especially to take care of what Saliha mentioned previously, how we make sure that what we produce from projects are smoothly hand over to operation. And this is how we try to evolve from a more traditional PMO to a more agile PMO.
For us, it's probably slightly different. If we speak about agile practice, where you deal with inherent predictability in projects to deliver customer value. Then in infrastructure projects, it's usually set what you need to deliver at the end of the day. But along the lines of those, I would say, set methodology or waterfall methodology, you do have some changes or practice or agile practice based on based on how that project would go, and sometimes it can be very complex in terms of especially when we deal with different stakeholders. Then yes, in terms of projects, there are some agile practice, although that's not a lot. But if it's in the PMO, as a PMO, we are always agile. Let's put it this way, because what we have is objective. This is what we have. This is the objective and the results that because we need to give that specific results, and how we work towards that results is what we call is always agile. So we are always adapting new ways, and we trial and error, and sort of so that and we have to tailor to the different stakeholders, because it depends on which stakeholders you're facing at that point in time, and which issues that you have to face at that point in time. So you always have to adapt to the situation. So as a PMO, we are practicing agile practice, as we say. We have constantly developing new changes, implementing new policies, and, to deliver that specific results.
Okay, so in the sort of governance perspective, when you're dealing with agile practitioners who are waving the agile manifesto at you, do you ever have any pushback?
Definitely.
At the beginning, I also had challenges and pushbacks, and I got even the question, "Oh, now we go agile. Why do we need project managers?" And it's a relevant question. I can understand from their perspective, especially from agile practitioners that were not previously project managers themselves, because they are also agile practitioners coming from project management world, and those people can really understand the mix and the blending of those two worlds. But for the ones that cannot, I think at least the approach I have followed, it was instead of just trying to argument why you need a project manager or why you need a PMO, I tried to showcase to them that agile is very structured, and sometimes agile is more structured than what they call waterfall. Yeah. And if you showcase that one, then they are really surprised themselves, because at least in our case in the Netherlands, and when you really show them, no, this is not correct, because you have now to show more than ever what you deliver and the value you create in small scale and in small chunks, then I think they reconsider their ideas.
Yeah, I tend to agree, because if you ask anyone doing infrastructure, they say, I don't know, we're not doing agile. But actually, if you talk about practice in between, in those, if you understand what agile means in practice, then they are, they are practicing it without knowing it.
Yeah. I mean, I've found the biggest stumbling block with agile is normally within the organization itself. When you've got a CFO banging the desk saying, when am I going to get it and how much is it going to cost? And then you've got practitioners saying, we don't know, it's agile. Somehow you've got to fill that gap.
That's true.
Listen, we're getting towards the end of our time now. What I'd like from each of you now is your top tips for engaging senior stakeholders and bringing them on board with the PMO ideas.
Efi, do you want to start?
Yeah, of course. So actually, my top suggestions are make it meaningful for the organization. So they need to understand why is PMO there, and what is the reason, what they can deliver for you. Another aspect is teach what you preach. So if you want people to go specific direction, or you really need to show by example what it needs to be done. And senior management has a vital role there, because they need to show they are following the trend, they are supporting. Management support is very important as an aspect in the whole endeavor, and they really need to sell it further to the organization. So they need to understand it, and then they need to create this cultivate the floor of trust towards PMO. So they certainly have a great role in that one, I think.
Yeah, yeah. For me, I think finding that balance where you sit in the organization is important to establish yourself as a PMO, and understanding what issues that you're going to resolve is important. So as a PMO, you need to look for that sort of niche where you're going to be and how you're going to fit in. I think that's important. So and also if you're able to understand that issues and how you're going to approach them, I think PMO can give tremendous value to the organization.
Sure. We've just got a couple of minutes left. Is there anything you want to ask each other?
I have a question for Saliha, because her PMO works rather different from our PMO, since they don't have the implementation within PMO. How challenging is to persuade that department about your role in the whole process? Because obviously they have to cooperate with the rest of the organization, and they also have a PMO who is a separate entity. How challenging is that one?
Very, very challenging, actually, because we faced that I think in the beginning, where PMO as a unit is somewhat threatening to the organization, because because the name Project Management Office means, are you going to take the project from us? So that's the first question. So yes, it does. So I would say for us as a PMO, we are more of a change agents rather than project managers. So we have to be expert in project management. That's a skill that you really need to have, and you also need to be skilled in change management, because at the end of the day, the value that you prove is intangible. So you have to work in a lot of change management areas just so to prove that value. So yes, we face a lot of challenges. That's why we spend a lot of time getting the data and information about people, about project, about the organization, so that we can analyze those information and make it meaningful for us, so that we can execute our work. Basically, if that helps, Efi.
Yeah, heavy job, Saliha. Respect to what you do. Heavy job.
Okay, listen, thank you very much, both of you. I've certainly got a lot from it. I hope you two have enjoyed it as well.
Certainly. Thank you very much for hosting us today.
Yes,
No, my pleasure entirely.